I wanted a change of scenery, so I headed to the shopping mall. After finishing our shopping and taking a break at a cafe, I was surprised to see Sullivan there. He was supposed to be at work today. I wondered why he was here at this time. And then I saw a woman coming out of the restroom hugging Sullivan's arm. I was stunned, but I quickly realized what was happening and snapped a few photos with my phone. The sudden shock left me in a daze. I couldn't move for a while, but Sage's cries snapped me back to reality, and I quietly left the scene so Sullivan wouldn't notice me. Why was Sullivan here at this time? Maybe I was mistaken about what I saw? Curious, I contacted Sullivan's company and found out that he had taken a day off today. Of course, I hadn't heard anything about that. Anxiety swept over me. When I got home, I secluded myself in my room and pondered over everything. The bullying from my mother-in-law, my husband's infidelity. What should I do in this situation? Should I endure it? Do I have to endure it? Looking at Sage sleeping peacefully beside me, I felt a strong urge to protect her. Just enduring wouldn't make this child happy. I realized I needed to become stronger as a woman and as a mother, so I decided to take action. First, I hired someone online to confirm Sullivan's infidelity. It was to investigate Sullivan's actions. I also planned to check Sullivan's phone. And any dishes I make that he won't eat, I'll make just for myself. Cleaning and laundry will be done only for myself and Sage. While Sullivan's middle-aged dad bod plan may hit a snag, my mother-in-law's cooking isn't exactly health-conscious, and it's still yielding results. I told myself to endure a little longer. The next morning, I declared to my mother-in-law and Sullivan, "From today onwards, I'll only focus on myself and Sage. So please don't involve yourselves with us. That's my intention." What are you talking about? We're family, aren't we? My mother-in-law started to argue back.
Yeah, have a drink and suddenly you're saying stuff like that.
Sullivan complained. You two treat me as nothing more than a maid and a baby-making machine, don't you? I just couldn't bear that kind of life anymore. Saying this, I took my own breakfast and Sage's essentials like clothes and diapers and locked myself in my room. As for Sullivan,
anyone who talks like that, I'll divorce them. Is that clear?
He retorted. Idiot. I mentally scoffed at him, knowing he's the one cheating and likely to get divorced. As for my mother-in-law, what's wrong with this daughter-in-law of mine saying such things? Well, I won't help her anymore, she declared. I don't need her help, I thought, feeling somewhat relieved. And from that day on, we began living separately under the same roof. Of course, my mother-in-law and Sullivan complained, but I ignored them. I kept important conversations to a minimum. I worked at my own pace, took care of Sage, and progressed with my diet plan. Then I realized something. I was living comfortably without orders from my husband or harassment from my mother-in-law. Why didn't I notice this before? I didn't need to endure. Then I received a report from the private investigator. As I suspected, it was true. The other person was a junior colleague at his company, only 24 years old. They were meeting in a motel 12 times a week. There were even photos. I wanted to bring up the topic of divorce right away, but Sage was still a baby, so I decided to prepare thoroughly before confronting Sullivan. I chose to proceed with preparations calmly. And 2 years passed. My diet went as planned, and I regained my old figure, without pushing myself too hard, so I didn't suffer any health issues. I made sure to wear loose clothing around the house, so Sullivan still believes I have the same chubby figure as before. Meanwhile, Sullivan continued his affair as usual. I've gathered enough evidence by now, so it's time to take action. I consulted a lawyer to discuss alimony, child support, and property division. Then I decided on a date for the divorce and invited my father-in-law to my house for a meal. As usual, Sullivan was out shopping with his mother. I asked my father-in-law for a small favor, so he'll be coming late. And today, I finally decided to show off the results of my diet. I took a shower and styled my hair early. I applied makeup perfectly for the first time in a while. Though no one would see it, I even put on some determined underwear. Then, I wore a slim suit from my single days. Yeah, I'm okay. I don't look like a typical mother with kids at all. Just then, Sullivan and my mother-in-law returned. Welcome back. You're early today, aren't you? I greeted Sullivan with a smile.
Is that you, Kimberly?
Sullivan looked surprised, his mouth hanging open in shock. Kimberly? When did you start dieting? Even my mother-in-law couldn't hide her surprise.
Why didn't you tell me you were back to your old self? You're a fine woman.
What are you saying, despite cheating? Sullivan exclaimed, his eyes wide with excitement. But now I feel uncomfortable with it.
Kimberly, you're really beautiful. Your figure is great, and I'm a lucky guy to have such a wonderful wife.
How about that? Are you impressed? Feeling good about himself, Sullivan said this as he passed by.
When it gets dark, I'll go to the bedroom, okay?
What are you thinking? My whole body was covered in goosebumps. I truly felt the lack of affection from Sullivan. After dinner, I bathed Sage and put her to sleep. When we gathered in the living room to have tea, I finally brought up the topic. Sullivan, I've thought about a lot of things and I'm considering divorce.
What?
Sullivan looked surprised and flustered.
Why are you suddenly bringing up divorce like this out of the blue?
It's not sudden. When I heard you say I don't see you as a woman, I made up my mind to divorce.
That was obviously a joke, wasn't it? You can't be serious about that.
Kimberly, are you serious? You'll be the one in trouble if you divorce. My mother-in-law interjected. What about Sage, Kimberly? Can you raise her alone? With all due respect, Sullivan and Mom, have either of you ever taken care of Sage? I've been taking care of her all by myself since she was born. But that's the wife's job, isn't it? Taking care of the household and raising the children? Nowadays, it's common for both spouses to raise their children together. It's abnormal for wives to be expected to be just wives in this day and age. Well, what nonsense coming from a wife like you. Anyway, I no longer want to continue being married to Sullivan. Above all, Sullivan is cheating. What? My mother-in-law was speechless.
That's a lie. There must be some mistake. That's right, it must be some misunderstanding. You're just misunderstanding something.
Sullivan denied the affair with a forced smile. It's not a misunderstanding. I've known about your affair for 2 years.
You didn't know about that 2 years ago?
No, that's why I have evidence from 2 years ago.
If that's the case, then it's ancient history. Something from that long ago should have been forgotten by now.
So you actually did have an affair, right? You're admitting to having an affair, aren't you?
No, that's not it. I haven't had an affair, so it's just your misunderstanding.
It's about time you admitted it, isn't it? It's embarrassing. Hey, Kimberly, isn't it okay for a man to have an affair at least once? My mother-in-law comes up with outrageous theories. Can you manage to live even if you divorce? You wouldn't be able to survive without Sullivan's salary, would you? Don't worry, I have a job and Sage and I can live just fine together.
Kimberly, are you being realistic? You know if you divorce, you'll have to leave here, right? Do you understand?
Yes, I understand everything. In fact, it's because I understand that I've decided to divorce.
Since you're the one bringing up divorce, I'll demand compensation. Can you afford that?
Let's discuss those matters with lawyers involved at a later date.
What are you being so cheeky for?
Anyway, have you ever taken a good look at yourself in the mirror?
What's with a sudden question?
You're already over 30, right? In my opinion, you're just a middle-aged, chubby, balding old man.
What did you say?
And I can't see you as a man anymore. This is what I wanted to say. And then I placed the divorce papers handed over from my father-in-law in front of Sullivan.
It's already late. Let's call it a night for today.
Saying so, my father-in-law stood up. My mother-in-law seemed to be staying overnight. I saw my father-in-law off to the door. Sullivan silently went into the bedroom. And then we held a discussion at the lawyer's office. I wore the suit I used to wear when I worked at the company. The way Sullivan looked at me as if he were licking his lips was unpleasant. The lawyer started the conversation first. When I first hired the private investigator, I received advice to carry around an IC recorder and record Sullivan's and my mother-in-law's abusive remarks. The reality of domestic violence and numerous derogatory remarks towards women from Sullivan became apparent from the recording. Then I presented evidence of infidelity, including photos and activity records from the private investigator. I also printed out the chat history from the phone I investigated. Sullivan seemed to resign himself. With such clear evidence, there was no way for him to escape. In the end, most of our demands were met, and I received compensation from Sullivan as well as from the other woman. Sullivan signed the divorce papers. As he was leaving, Sullivan had a pleading look in his eyes.
Kimberly, can't we start over again? I'm deeply sorry.
It's a pity, but it's too late now. You're not seen as a man anymore. Since you have a girlfriend as your affair partner, you should be with her instead. Sullivan slumped his shoulders dejectedly. With this, my revenge is complete. After the divorce, Sullivan's divorce due to cheating became known to the company, and he was forced to leave the company. He's now living financially on the money he earns from his part-time job. He apparently proposed to his affair partner to be together, but she, following my plan, told him that he's no longer seen as a man due to his middle-aged, balding, and slightly chubby appearance, and ran away. Maybe she never really loved Sullivan from the start, but was just caught up in the affair. I moved to a rental apartment with Sage to get a work-friendly environment. Sage will start kindergarten next year. I wanted to enjoy this life for a while longer while looking forward to Sage's growth.